He says in the word, as I read again from the NIV, 2 Corinthians 16th chapter, he says this. He says, he began to help people understand who he is. He says, are they Hebrews? He says, so am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they Abraham's descendants? So am I. Are they servants of Christ? In other words, he helps us understand. He says, I'm more than they. Right? He said, I have worked much harder, been in prison more frequently, been flogged more severely, been exposed to death again and again. 5 times I have received from the Jews 40 lashes minus 1. In other words, 39 lashes. 3 times I was beaten with a rod. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I spent a night and a day in the open sea. I've been constantly on the move. I've been in danger from rivers, in dangers from bandits, in danger from our own countrymen, in danger from Gentiles, in dangers from the city, in dangers in the country, in dangers at sea, in danger from false brothers. Watch out now. He said, I've labored and toiled and have often gone without sleep. I've known hunger and thirst. I've gone often without food. I've been in the cold and I've been naked. Besides everything else, I face daily the pressure of my concern to all churches. If I could give this a title, I would simply say the importance of my struggle. Paul talks about his struggle because of what he's gone through. He says, because I talk about my struggle, don't take me as a fool, but take me because of what I've gone through. I'm speaking from experience. I've gone through some stuff. As I looked at what Paul talked about, I began to reflect on my journey so far. I'm reminded that in spite of our challenges, I must embrace the foundation that has kept us here. We must embrace the foundation. We must embrace the love that has sustained us, the past that has prepared us, and even the challenges and the struggles that has propelled us, even the ones that could have killed us. Paul helps us understand that I've gone through something, but still Jesus is my God. He's still my Lord. Can I tell you that God has propelled us into a new dimension, and we must be mindful of our position with that. In other words, watch this now. We come to a critical moment in our time. And in this critical moment, we have to understand that we have to make right choices, because what we're going through is going to be tough. What we're going through is going to be rough. What we're going through can kill us, but if we still believe in Jesus the Christ, we can make it. In other words, we got to boast about what God has done for us. Paul said, I boast. Okay, and you can call me a fool if you want to, but receive me as a fool. But my boasting is in Christ Jesus, who have saved me through all these things I've gone through. Watch this now. And he said, God has blessed us through the times and brought us through the pearls of life. We are not always on course and even stay in line with what God has promised us. But thank God for his grace and his mercy. Thank God that we understand that we can realign with his son Christ. Thank God that we can reflect on the past with humility and grace. And thank God that he did not let us die, but he kept us by his grace and his mercy. Right. Thank God because he's our Savior. Well, I wish I had some help in here. Paul helps us understand that the boasting that he does is all about the celebration of the God he serves. All right. In spite of his journey, he still serves God. Like Paul, we must be careful not to think of ourselves as the producers of success, yet ensure that we qualify ourselves with the challenges of the journey. Watch that now. Let me say it again. Don't think of ourselves as a producer of success, but look at us and look at yourselves with the challenges that you qualify for the journey. In other words, everybody doesn't qualify for the journey. All right. Everybody can't make it through the journey. Everybody can't handle the journey. But if we let God lead us and follow his footsteps, we can make the journey. Christ had to take the journey. And at the end of the journey, his destiny on earth was death. The question is, can you handle the journey? We got to be careful, and we have to love our struggle. Remember what Paul did. Paul asked the question in his qualification. He said to them, watch this now. Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they Abraham's descendants? So am I. He goes on to tell them, look, you are no different than I. But at the same time, I've gone through more than you have. We come from the same mode, but yet still, I was treated different than you. But I have more than you, but yet I was treated different than you. I was looked down upon. Paul said, look, I worked much harder, been in prison more frequently, been flogged more severely, been exposed to death again and again. 5 times I received from the Jews 40 lashes. 3 times I was beaten with a rod, once stoned, 3 times shipwrecked, spent night and days in the sea. Have seen danger from the rivers, danger from the bandits, danger from my own countrymen. In other words, my friends put me in danger.
All right.
Yeah. And not only that, he said, I saw dangers from my own countrymen and also from the false brothers. Can I tell you, you got to be careful, because everybody who calls themselves a friend ain't a friend. Everybody who calls themselves a brother ain't a brother. Everybody who calls themselves a sister ain't a sister.
Right,
everybody who sits with you and lay with you don't love you. They just want to be with you. You got to be careful. Because Paul said, I've gone through some stuff, but I'm satisfied with my struggle. He said, I known hunger and I known thirst, and I've been naked and I've been in cold. But besides all these things that I go through, even now as a man of God, I still suffer with the pressure of the church daily. I'm trying to do what God's called me to do, but I still got to go through some stuff.
All right.
I can't complain about it. I'm going to boast about it, because in fact, all that I'm going through, while I'm going through it, God still got my back. No matter how difficult it may appear, I still have God. He said, I will boast of the things that show my weaknesses. Why, Paul? I boast in the things that show my weaknesses, because when I show my weaknesses, it shows the power of God. It shows that when I can't do it myself, Jesus has me. He said, watch this now. Paul goes on to affirm his resume. He said, of suffering that qualifies me for different accolades. Can I tell you, it doesn't matter who you are, what relationship you have with Christ, you are not exempt from the struggles of the journey. Y'all heard what I said. It doesn't matter. Just because you know God, just because you give life to Christ, just because you've been saved, just because you read the Bible, just because you speak in tongues, just because you lay hands, just because you have this anointing doesn't exempt you from the journey. You still got to go through the struggle, because the struggle is just as important as the survival.
All right.
You can't survive without going through this struggle. We got to recognize that going through is just as important as the coming out. But you can't come out unless you go through.
Yes, sir.
See, it's the going through that builds your testimony. It's the going through that builds your faith. We need to process just as much as we need the success. Let me say, we need to process just as much as we need the success. We can't have the success without going through the process. In other words, can I help you a little bit? Where you are is not where God is taking you. And watch this now. And what if it doesn't help me to get through my struggle, then I don't need it, because every now and then I got to fight through my struggle. I don't know about you, but I know you have victory, but what you don't have, and what you don't have is you don't have Christ in your life. And if you don't have Christ in your life, you can't make it through the struggle. You got to celebrate the struggle. You got to boast about the struggle. You got to tell somebody what you've gone through, because you don't tell anybody, God doesn't get the glory. Paul said, I boast in my struggle. Yeah. But what did you have to do? How long did you have to fight? How many times did you get knocked down? And I need to know, how did you get over? Too often people crave for your anointing, but they don't know what you had to go through to get it.
Yes, sir.
They crave to be where you are, and you tell them where you came from. They feel like it's too much. They want what you have, but they have no idea of your story. They have no idea of your struggle. They're down with, they don't know about your tears. Even the losses that you caused them submit to God. So he could not use them. He placed an anointing on them. Watch what happens. They see the results of the anointing. They see the results of the favor, but they don't know your story.
Pastor, you better preach.
The problem is, You can't have it without the struggle. You don't have a testimony without going through the test. Watch this. When you tell them your struggle, when you tell them you almost lost your life, when you tell them how broke down you were, and you tell them you were 3 seconds from losing your mind, when you tell them that you almost gave up and committed suicide, when you tell them they realize, was it worth all that? Can I tell you? It's worth all of that when you come to the end of your journey. Paul says, I boast in my struggles. I boast in my weakness. Why? Because I want you to know that I didn't do it by myself.
All right.
So when I began to look at some things, and the Bible said if they would know my story, it might bring tears to their eyes, and surely it might cause you to change your mind if you knew my story. Because if you listen to what I had to tell you, you wonder, how do you get over it? How do you get through all that? And you begin to cry. You say, I can't do all that. That's too much. But can I tell you something? I heard the word when it said, greater is he that's with you, in you, than he that's in the world.
Yes, sir.
And if God is with you,
yes,
he's more than the world against you.
Yes.
You need to know that. What am I trying to say? When you have this place and you're in charge of this sanctuary, you're the pastor of a church or organization or the leader, and what happens when you tell them that the members have left, when you tell them that there's confusion in the church, when you tell them that the church breaks up and it splits in two in different pieces, what happens when you tell them there's a lot of mess going on in the church, there's a lot of cursing and fussing, a lot of slipping and tipping, there's a lot of lying and conniving in the church? What happens when you tell them that? They don't want to be a part of that organization, but can I tell you something? That's my struggle. I had to go through some stuff like that. Paul said, that's my struggle. That's my story. And the thing is, I got over because the Lord was with me. God gave me favor. So I heard folks say, you hear this story, people say, and repeat this thing because it's more of a cliche to them. They don't understand what they're saying. They said all things work together for the good. And they leave it right there. But can I tell you something?
Go ahead,
the devil's a liar. All things do not work together for the good. The Bible declares all things work together for the good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. If you don't love him, you're not called according to his purpose. Don't expect it to work out for good, because it's going to work out for good for that person. But everybody around it, you better go through something, because you got to understand the struggle. See, I'm blessed. And that's why God gave me favor, because in the midst of my journey, I remained faithful. I still trust him. I still pray to him. I still praise him. I still worship him. I still knew that he is the God. And in my good, he's God. And in my bad, he's God. In my ups, he's God. And in my down, he's God. Yes. In all that I go through, he's God. And if I tell my story, I can just testify. When I felt alone, he was still there. When I wanted to quit, he held on. When I turned his hand loose, he held my hand. I can't even say it like Joe. Matter of fact, yes, I can. He said, though he slay me, I still, when I trust him, because I'm going through something, but I know he's got my back.
Yes, sir.
I don't know about you, but Paul had a right to boast. And while he did, he didn't talk about his degrees. He didn't talk about his pedigrees. He was from the Jewish tribe of Benjamin. He was a Hebrew of Hebrews. He was a Pharisee. He had zeal, and he didn't speak of his brilliant mind, but he was brilliant. He had a commanding knowledge of philosophy and religion. He had the ability to debate with most scholars, and no matter how educated they were, he was clear and understandable with explanation of the gospel. That's why Paul wrote so many of the epistles. But watch this. Yet he talked about all that he had endured in the ways of his challenges and struggles. He didn't talk about what he had earned. He didn't talk about his status. He didn't talk about his statue. He talked about the challenges and the struggles. Can I tell you, we have to understand that we need to love our struggles, because our struggles gets us through the journey.
Yes.
I don't know. See, when you tell them that what you see didn't come easy, but God said you were ordained for greatness. I know you've been shipwrecked, but you're anointed to survive.
All right.
Can I tell you, you've been shipwrecked,
Yes, sir.
but you're anointed to survive. No matter what you've gone through, you are still going to survive. Your struggles are only going to make you strong because you're boasting in what God has given you. You're boasting in the fact that while you was weak, yet he was strong. We can talk about our accomplishments, but how can we talk about them without talking about our fight? How can we talk about them without talking about our struggle? If we don't talk about the fight and the struggle, we mislead all those who follow us because they think you got something, you got it free. Tell the people, you got to tell them, because if you don't do that, the people will lie. They will lie about stuff. They will abuse you and they will mislead you and assassinate you. So what about the accomplishments without addressing the suffering? The suffering is a test, Sister Jean, that produced the testimony, Sister Sharon. Sometimes you want to quit because it seems too hard and not worth the pain. You don't want to deal with the suffering and the agony. But can I tell you, the struggle is not the end of the story. And the journey is never easy. We got to learn to celebrate the struggle because it didn't stop you. It didn't stop us. It didn't kill you. It didn't kill us. And so we got to celebrate our success and don't celebrate the victory without celebrating the journey. Don't celebrate the success without celebrating the process. Don't celebrate it without celebrating the struggles and the fights and the challenges. You got to understand, because if you don't do that, you leave out the most important part. I know you look at me and you say, look at what he look at him and this and that. But can I tell you, you don't know my story.
Go ahead on, Pastor.
You don't know the pain I went through. You don't know the challenge I had to face. You don't know the tears I cried. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. So Paul says this. He said we can boast about accomplishments, but why do that when we can boast in our infirmities? The problem is, if you only talked about what you accomplished, whenever you go down, you're messed up. We are strong because of our weakness. We're elevated because of our downgrade. But always remember, there cannot be a fight without a foe. And there cannot be a victory without a fight. There cannot be a testimony without going through a test. Right. There cannot be an arrival of a journey without going through the struggles. And there cannot be peace if there is no war. There cannot be a future if you don't have a past. There cannot be a church without people. There cannot be a birth without a mother. You need to understand something. Every now and then, God will do what he needs to do to slap you down, knock you down, put you on your back, put you on your face. Every now and then, God will have to do something just to stop you. Every now and then. I don't know about you, but I'm glad this morning of my struggles. I'm glad this morning of my struggles. I'm glad this morning of my journey. I had to go through some stuff. But at the end of the day, it was all worth it, because I can clap my hands and say, thank God he didn't let me go. Thank God when I turned loose his hand, he held on to me. Thank God when I was lying down in my tears, he wiped them away. Thank God he sent the sunshine to my rainy days. Thank God. Thank God. I don't know about you, but if you love him, he'll love you back. He'll give you what you need. When you need it. I know he will. I've tried him and he's done it. He did it over and over again. Won't he do it? Won't he do it for you? Won't he do it for you? I don't know about it, but he did it for me. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he? Won't he? I say, yeah. He'll do it for you. Give God some praise.